Rumble with Michael Moore. This is my podcast, and we're at the end of our first week of doing this, my first week, and it's something I'd never done before. And I announced 4 days ago that this was going to be a weekly podcast, and here I've done 4 already the first week. But that was kind of the plan, to sort of have a couple of weeks at the beginning where I just do as many as I'm able to do, just to get into the hang of this. And boy, I'll tell you, it's been a real pleasure to be able to speak to you and to have some guests on, and I've got some great people lined up for next week. So through the holidays here, you may hear from me every day or two, and I can't thank you enough for the response. It's really been incredible. We haven't promoted it or anything. I haven't been on TV to talk about it. I haven't. We don't have any advertising. We don't have anything. It's word of mouth, and I put it up on my social media. And I was stunned yesterday to wake up to the news that this podcast has made the charts, the Apple podcast charts. It's in the top 25 podcasts that are out there, according to Apple. And that was done with, I can promise you, no effort on my part. And so clearly you found me. You found this, and thank you for that. And please subscribe if you haven't already. It's free. Send me your comments. I'd love the feedback. And, don't forget to rate it and, give it whatever stars you want, just to, let me know if this is a worthy endeavor. As I told you at the beginning of the week, I'd made a big decision for the coming year here to set aside the movie and the TV series that I'd started to prepare for, because I can't think of anything more important that I need to do than to have this kind of contact with you, and to create a digital media project that will, on my level, do the work that needs to be done for the coming year, and hopefully continue beyond that, because it's not just about electing a president. We'll have our work cut out for us either way, whether our person wins. It will not be an easy road to get the things done that we want to see done, and it certainly will be a really rotten and tough road should Trump win again. And don't think for a second that can't happen. So here we have Rumble. Rumble will be with us. This will be my way to communicate with you and you with me, and my focus is on this. This is it. I've thrown all in to create this, and then perhaps over the next few weeks or months, a few other ideas I've got cooking here online, digitally, with you and others. So be sure and subscribe to this, and we'll have more news for you next week about other things we've got planned. Today, this podcast, I'm very honored to have someone on who not only told me that he's never listened to a podcast, he has never done a podcast. Which is incredible, considering who he is. Never listened to a podcast, has refused to do podcasts, and agreed to come on Rumble here with me and let this be his very first experience on a podcast. So I'm truly, truly honored to have him here, and to have this be his first. He's a legend. He's an American hero. He arguably is the greatest actor of our lifetime, and he's been very outspoken about the times in which we're living, and the people who are responsible for making it so difficult for so many people. He's Mr. Robert De Niro, and I'm glad that he sat down with me here to do this. The great Robert De Niro, for the first time ever on a podcast, right here on Rumble with Michael Moore. We turn the microphones on, and what you're about to hear is completely uncensored, unfiltered, in its raw form. I'd like to welcome Mr. Robert De Niro, and I'm very happy to have you here to talk to you. I've been wanting to talk to you for some time. I need to talk to you. I hope I can be of some help to you.
Yeah.
Because we're living in a time that we have never lived in before.
Bad time.
It's a bad time. And I ran into you at the Lincoln Center. It was the anniversary celebration or whatever this year. And you had mentioned to me that, in addition to The Irishman, that you were also in this film called Joker.
Yes.
Todd Phillips' film with Joaquin Phoenix. And you couldn't tell me anything about it. But you did say this to me. I love how it ends for me.
Oh, did I say that? Okay. Yeah.
Because generally you're doing the whacking.
Yeah.
And you get whacked in quite a dramatic fashion.
Right.
Have you seen it in the movie theater with people where people repel back in the seat? Because
no, I haven't seen
they don't want to see anything happen to you.
Yeah, yeah.
And number one. And they haven't seen this. Yes, and they haven't seen this happen.
Yeah.
You haven't played that sort of character. And in fact, in King of Comedy, you played it sort of the reverse of it. Look, let's face it. You and I and everybody listening to this has been living in not just a weird time, I think that there is a malaise in this country right now. There is a level of despair with people. Have you seen this and felt it? They're so low.
To me, it feels like with this administration, this president, there's it's kind of being in an abusive relationship. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't feel safe. You just say, if the president is such an idiot and can't do anything that we can rely on and feel safe about or good about, even intentions, good intentions, he has no good intentions. That's your role as president, to make people feel good and positive. Even though it's easier said than done, that's your responsibility as a president. He doesn't have any of that, as we all know.
Right.
I always knew it just because I never wanted to have anything to do with him in New York City. He was a fool then. But now it's even worse. And I even gave him the benefit of the doubt the day after he was elected. I went on Jimmy Kimmel, I think, and I said, look, I'll give him a chance. I hope I'm wrong.
Right.
But there has not been one thing about this person that has been redeeming, as far as I can see. Nothing. And for the Republicans who have fallen in line with him, and I don't understand that. It's a disgrace. It's beyond a disgrace. Shame on them. Shame on all of them.
Yes. What is that though? Okay, I get Trump is not right, has no good intentions, but there are 200 plus members of Congress and the Senate, Republicans. How does every single one of them continue to stand with this?
That's a good question. I don't know. I was reading this book, Anonymous, and he goes into some of that, or he or she or whoever it is goes into some of that toward the end, about sort of a herd mentality, or people who follow the group psychology that sort of get turned. I haven't finished it, so I'm not saying it well, but there is something there. It's like a good lesson in human nature, if you will, psychology, that these people like Lindsey Graham and this McCarthy and these other ones, and Mulvaney, who said all these things about his children, and not someone like Trump, doing such a turnaround. Where does that, I don't understand that. That's frightening.
There is no explanation for this, is there?
They've lost, to me, all reason. This is, they have an obligation and a duty to stand up to this guy.
They're not going to.
No, they're not, I know.
So where does that leave us?
That's a good question.
What do we do about, okay, maybe some people thought, well, we could convince the good-hearted ones. We may disagree with them politically, but at least they care about the country and they'll do the right thing.
Yes.
That's not happening.
I know. I'm at a loss. I mean, I know I live in New York and I'm living in a certain world. It's not out there in the Midwest and other parts of the country, but there's right and there's wrong. You do the right. I know when I see what's being done that's wrong, and those people are supposed to represent us, and they are supposed to know and stand up for what's right in the country, and they're not doing that. And sometimes people who are not, there was a term I was talking to somebody the other day about, it's a kind of a superficial way of you choose a president or a leader just because you like them or this and that. You don't even know much about them, and I understand that. And they read certain tabloids, they read Inquirer, Star, all that stuff, and somewhere way out in the middle of the country or not so much the middle of the country, many places closer to big cities and stuff that's the information that they get, which is not true. That's fake news. That's fake news.
That's the real fake news.
And he's twisted it all around. And it's like astonishing. But I think those people need to learn and be taught and be led by the people who are more enlightened and are caring about the welfare of the country and the world. They have to be able to teach those people and their kids and lead responsibly, not do what these Republicans are doing. Right. McCarthy, Lindsey Graham, shame on him, shame on them. What are their families, what are their grandkids are going to think about if they haven't? I don't know, but it's
awful.
It's awful.
Yeah. So it doesn't seem like there's any way that we can reach them. We can't convince them to change their minds. The people who live out where I'm from, in Michigan, and a state that voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Hillary lost by just 2 votes per precinct in Michigan. Just 2 votes. And so it was pretty debilitating to see that happen. In Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. And I don't know what you think about this. I've just come to believe that the energy that you and I and others have between now and next November has to be focused on getting the people out who are going to stay home, who would vote the right way, as opposed to the enormous energy it takes trying to convince somebody that what they've heard on Fox News or Rush Limbaugh, they believe it as gospel. And, we used to laugh about this. I used to say, the people that believe that the earth is only 6,000 years old and Adam and Eve rode on dinosaurs and ha, 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 ha. But this has gone way beyond that.
Yeah,
it's not just that for maybe their religious reasons, they believe that the earth was only 6,000 years old. But now it's all of this stuff that's pumped into their heads, and they believe it. If you gave them a lie detector test, they'd pass it.
Yeah.
They'd say it as fact,
Yeah.
I just, tell me if I'm wrong, but I just think that maybe we have to give up on those. I just consider them lost for now. And like you just said, maybe we reach their children. So as they become 18, they'll turn this around. They'll vote the right way. But there's so many people on our side that stay home, that feel disaffected by the whole thing. The political system isn't for them. It hasn't helped them. You're a working class person in Michigan. What's any party done for me,
Well, but the problem is it gets worse and worse. And if you allow someone like Trump to really become more of a demagogue, eventually, they laughed. Didn't they laugh at Hitler? Didn't they laugh at Mussolini? Yes. Look how silly they look. Look at Trump, how silly he looks. I don't know what that is, but you've got, he's a clown, but a dangerous one.
It's not funny anymore.
No. And it'll affect them if he becomes reelected. It'll affect them in ways that we can't even think of now, but you say, no, it can't happen here, but it will happen.
Yeah. I agree with those who say there's no guarantee that he'll leave, even if he does get a second term.
No,
or if he loses this election, he'll just call the election rigged.
Exactly. No, that's what I was saying.
People will believe him.
And I saw Bill Maher. I was thinking about the same thing. Yeah. I saw Bill Maher say that a couple of months ago. Yeah. That he will say it's rigged, and he'll want maybe a recount. Who knows? But he's not going to go peacefully. Right. I think. Or
what do we do in that situation?
It's a real test. The only thing he's done, only contribution I see that he's given to this country and the world, is that he's taught us that we can never allow it to happen again.
Right.
With laws and so on, and ways of protections that a person like this, who just is I even run out of words to call him.
Just what's the first word that comes to mind?
Well, I always say lowlife, because he's a lowlife. He's not a pig. I used to call him a pig, but pigs have dignity. He has no dignity, no nothing. He's a disgrace to the human race, if you will. And I don't want to call him names. I just want to get us out of this situation. Yeah. We all know what he is. It's just getting past that.
Well, you mentioned, because you're from New York. He's from New York. You both grew up here.
He's an embarrassment, disgrace.
I have to ask, as not a New Yorker,
yeah.
how did New York let this happen?
Good question. But there are other New Yorkers who are not. Look what happened to Giuliani. And another thing is that Rupert Murdoch became a citizen of this country. And look what he contributed. Mm-hmm. Look what he contributed. Mm-hmm. That's about money. It's about power. It's about greed. Lying. This is what he can be proud of. Right. This is what his kids, his grandkids, that's what they can be proud of. That's his contribution to this country, to this world. Right. That's pretty fucking disgraceful.
You bring up Giuliani when I say it's sad because I was here around 9/11. Yeah. And he seemed to, do his best to try and pull the city together. But then I forget that firefighters will stop me here and see me on the street, and they're still upset. They blame Giuliani in part for why so many died because he moved the communications center after the first World Trade Center bombing into the World Trade Center. And that day when they couldn't communicate with each other. Yeah. Giuliani still has this kind of mythological kind of place in New York history, but even then, it was like, I forget about those things.
I don't want to say, because there are things I'm sure he did for the city and this and that, but he was also at the right place at the right time, as horrible as that is, as being, America's mayor. But, when you wind up doing what you're doing now, are you so desperate for attention or to be in the limelight that you do what you do for, there's something, the cabal, the deep state is within all those guys. Giuliani, Trump, everything that they accuse everybody else of being is what they really are, and they know it. And that's why they're projecting that stuff, because they're doing it. Every criticism that Trump has had about anybody or anything, he's done, and not tenfold, but you might as well say 10. I mean, he's just done it. Everything he accused Obama of, this and that, he's done it more. Right. All the silly golf stuff, all the other stuff. I mean, anything, any criticism that he said about anybody, he's done it more.
Right, right. So
takes one to know one, and that's the whole thing that he just,
It's so simple.
It's so simple. It's so basic. It's so simple.
I can tell you this though: if Trump had grown up in Detroit, the rest of you, never would have heard of him. We would have taken care of the problem. Well, I want to know why New York didn't take care of the problem. Well, how did he get away all those years? All the crazy stuff he did.
I agree. I don't. He's not somebody I ever wanted to talk to, have anything to do with. He was he's a person who calls the tabloids and calls Forbes magazine, I think, saying he's representing himself. Yeah. But not saying he's the one called. That's crazy.
Right. One crazy thing after another. And yet the city kind of embraced, they liked the tabloid entertainment with him. They came up with a name for him, the Donald, I'm not blaming all of New York for this. I'm just saying.
Well, you're right. I mean,
we needed somebody here. Out there, we don't know. All we knew about Queens was Archie Bunker and Trump. Yeah. We don't know anybody else from Queens. So it's like, what, how did this happen?
Sorry, I'm just kidding.
No, that's okay.
Hello. Hey. Okay, what's happening after? Because I'm in the middle of something now. How long will you be there? Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, so just call me when you're leaving. Okay, bye.
You good?
Yeah.
Out there where I'm from, I think people really first got to know him through The Apprentice.
I think that had a lot to do with him being president.
Yes.
I think it's
14 seasons.
That's simple. I saw two guys. They had a thing on HBO or CNN or whatever, not HBO, called Confidence Men or something. There was one episode on Trump, and then these two guys were talking how they started the show, and kind of two writers, two kind of schlubby guys. Said, we created this thing with it, and look what it.
I heard they had to hire an acting coach because he could not say you're fired in any way that was believable. And they realized that he, like most CEOs, have never said the words, you're fired.
Yes.
So they had, for 2 weeks, they had an acting coach working with him on getting the you're fired thing down. But that's where it really began with him becoming a national thing. And I'm sure all the outtakes in that,
show that they have and all the other footage or whatever you want to call it, I'm sure he's done a lot of things that they would say, if people only knew what he said and this and that and disparaging this one, a racial thing, whatever.
Well, that national security server in the White House where they were hiding the Ukraine call, don't you want to know what else they put there in the last 3 years?
Well, right.
Where's the subpoena on that?
Yeah.
You know, because I'm sure it's worse. Now, will that matter to any of the people who are Republicans? If we showed three more things that he's done, I don't think it'll matter.
No.
So I'm sorry to go back to this question. And now, what do we do?
Well, you're right. What do we do? I think what could I do that would be positive as far as being so angry at this person? And so I'm like dumbfounded that this guy has gotten to this point. And I think that other people are nonplussed when they hear him say things, do things. I know they have to like go along with it because they work with him and they want to be part of that. I don't know why. They still think they can get something out of it in their career after this. Things he said, especially in the used to get so offended by the way he would get in these rallies and say things about people. I want to punch him in the face. Right. He's such a mutt, a dog, you know. I've said this before, that he would actually say that. I mean, what are you doing? Who would say that? Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
This is our country.
Right.
This is what you do? I mean, it's infuriating.
But you and I are not the kind of guys to just sit around and bitch about this.
No,
you know. No, I mean, no offense, but
no, I don't know.
But what do we do?
First of all, the thing is to be positive about what's the future and not give him this much.
Don't give into it.
Attention and give him all this.
Right.
Which the media has done too. They've given him a lot of. So I mean, even I find myself watching. I can't help but watch. Or one of these other Republicans rationalize his behavior and actually get upset by it and say, you know, I mean, it's like, what planet are we on? Where are you from that you could say this with a straight face?
You are Robert De Niro. You are beloved in this country. You know that. You don't have to admit it, but I'll just tell you. Contrary to what the Republicans like to say, like, oh, these Democrats are all Hollywood, or they're actually, here's the truth is, they're the ones who've run Hollywood. Ronald Reagan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Gopher from the Love Boat was a congressman from Iowa. Sonny Bono. Good, you know, back in the old days, the senator from California, I can't remember his name now, George. I know. Just before our time. They actually love Hollywood. They run Hollywood. They elect Hollywood. And the truth is, and what we should say to them is, well, you know why you win when you run Hollywood? Because Americans love Hollywood. They love the movies. They love good TV. They love these things. And they're grateful to actors and directors and people who give them this entertainment. So it's not a negative thing. It's not, I wish we would run more people, frankly. You know, I mean, I used to say this not as a joke so much, but I would just say, why don't we run Tom Hanks? Who hates Tom Hanks? Everybody loves Tom Hanks.
No, you're right. I mean, and some actors have thought of it, but it's a huge responsibility. But when you think of someone like Trump, anybody, my little kids, my daughter could do a better job than him. Right. And,
I heard somebody say the other day that Trump is so bad that I'd rather have one of the 63 million that voted for him would be better.
Absolutely.
Than Trump himself.
Because, you know, I've seen some of the people they talk about they might vote for Trump. They seem like nice people, smart, aware. And I'm shocked that they, somewhere in their mind, they think that Trump, he represents something to him. Well, you know, to these people that
part of it is he just fucking says whatever he wants to say, and that's kind of refreshing to people that you know he doesn't, whatever's in the brain just comes right out.
But you just can't do that. You can't say the things you said about McCain. You can't say the things about the FBI, the institutions. You can't say that. You can't do that. Those are all. You can't do that. Period. It's you can criticize, but not be insulting and disparaging and just. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You didn't think he was going to win, did you?
I didn't. No.
Would you say that now? Would you say, "Oh, there's no way he's going to win next year"?
No, I won't say that. It ain't over till it's over, and I'm very concerned, as I think some people are, that he could win again, and then I think it would be a very bad, really, really, really bad situation in the country.
Well, I don't know what we'll have left or how we'll come out of if it's 4 more years, frankly.
No.
And I'm not saying that to just scare people or.
No,
it's not hyperbole. It's
real.
And there's real historical examples of how if you give too much power to somebody like that, it's dangerous beyond belief.
He's joked about being president for life because of what Xi said or Xi did. He's not joking. We now know that anything he says in jest,
take him seriously.
He means it.
And when he says he could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and get away with it, he means it. Yeah. He's not lying to you then.
No, he exactly. So he would go for a third term. I always felt that he'd get us into some altercation, be manipulated by smarter people than him who have another agenda, get into something where then he'd have to be reelected because we're in some kind of war or something. Maybe he'd call some kind of state of emergency if there were too many demonstrations or something, which would then amp it up. Certain things that would give, because of his position. I mean, I don't know, you tell me. That's what I
think that's very true. If you remember, he implied that Hillary didn't really win the popular vote, that those were illegals who voted for her. And he started a commission, and they took a poll, and they found that something like, 59% of Republicans said that if Trump could prove that illegals caused Hillary to win the popular vote, they would support him postponing the next election until the electoral system was figured out and gotten right.
Who said
the
that?
Majority of Republicans in a poll
really
said that they would support postponing the next election if Trump could prove that there were illegals voting for Hillary. I saw that and I was like, wow. You're right. No, Bob, you're right. It's this, it could happen. It could happen fairly quickly and in a way that you might not see it coming. And then before you know it, all of a sudden, certain rights are suspended, an election is suspended, and he's doing it for the good of the country, protect us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No,
that's what.
And look, I don't want somebody to dig up this podcast a few years from now, and then they go, "Wow, Bob and Mike were right about that." Well, that doesn't do us any good.
No,
they need to understand now that you should be afraid.
Yeah. I mean, we're all young people. I don't. I mean, I don't know the answer to this, but young people who are registering to vote now,
and they are in record numbers.
They are.
Yes, they are.
African Americans, Latinos, those are the ones that are going to bring us out of this.
Right.
Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the plan. Personally,
yeah.
Here's the statistic that I saw that I thought, well, there's the answer. 70% of the people who are eligible to vote in next year's election are either women, people of color, or young people between 18 and 35. That's 70% of the country. That is the traditional base of the Democratic Party. If we can't get out, when we have the vast majority, the demographic is with us. Not just the demographic, but you look at any of the polls, the majority of the people take the Democratic Party position. They may not call themselves Democrats, but they believe climate change is real. They believe the minimum wage should not be $7.25 an hour.
Yes.
They believe women should be paid the same as men. They take the positions that Democrats take. So it's on us, I think, to get them out there.
I agree.
Because I'm not afraid to say I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, you must feel the same way. I mean, it's...
Yeah, I'm anxious. I'm afraid. I mean, I could say the same thing. I'm nervous about this, what it is. And I'm frustrated because I don't know what to do. I think people registering to vote, young people,
Let's give them candidates and people to vote for.
Yeah, well, but it also, at this point, because of the situation, everybody has something, all have good qualities.
You
good
could say
things.
something good about all of them.
About all of them?
Yes.
Biden is probably, we just got to get over the hump. That's all. With Biden, whoever it is, I think Bloomberg is an adult, a grown-up. I think he, they say he's a rich guy, but he does a lot of philanthropic things. He's he's done real things, smoking in public places, stuff like that, certain other health things that were...
Not smoking out of bars in New York City.
Yeah.
Who would have ever
How could
thought
you ever get that done?
that could happen, yeah.
But there's certain things, he's a concerned citizen and puts his money where his mouth is. He's everything that Trump is not. Trump is a fake. He's a loser, and he knows he's a loser. And that's what's scary, because we don't want somebody in the White House who is so insecure that he really knows he's a loser. But he's trying to act like a tough guy, like he knows something. He's a complete. I don't know. I run out of names to call him.
Every time I see him in that trench coat, he's always wearing the thug trench coat. And why don't you just put a Scotch tape sign on the back of that coat that says "I'm a loser," and I know it, because it's like that's what that trench coat says. Who wears that around? Yeah. In their 70s. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna, oh man, it's
Well, I don't know who buys it. Too, people buy it. I can't understand it, but that's me. I can't understand how people buy. He's so transparent. I get it. You give this idiot so much attention because you just can't believe what's happening.
Just tell us that you have not lost 1 ounce of your fight and your grit and your determination about this particular subject, Donald Trump.
Not one. Nothing. No, I'm more angry than ever that this guy is where he is, and just it's a lesson in human behavior, because some of these Republicans. It's not about them. It's about the country. It's about the Constitution. It's about this country.
Yeah.
And they're not. There was Justin Monash who stood up.
Right, from Michigan.
Maybe there's one. I don't know. I can't think offhand. But they stood up after they left.
Looks like he wants to stand up. Maybe.
But they don't want to leave the club in a sense. Mitt Romney should never have met Trump and John George in the restaurant in the Trump hotel. Because then it's not about politics. It's about, tell me if I'm wrong, but they're all like stars in their own communities. They could go into private practice and earn more money probably, or many of them I think are from well-to-do families. They could get out, speak out as much as they'll always get airtime, speak out against this guy. What's his name did it, but he left, and Corker did it, but he was leaving. But the other guy who's
so what are they afraid of losing? Well, they could make more money.
I don't know. I don't know. They have all that. They don't have is prestige. They don't have their. I don't want to get so dramatic as to say they don't have their souls, but they've done something to their souls. They've made a deal with the devil to be with this guy. That's all I can think of. They somehow, what's the rationale? And you're a public servant, and you've gone, and you've compromised yourself, you've sold yourself, you've prostituted yourself to be with this fool that taints everybody. Mattis is the only one, maybe one or two other barely got out. They're all tainted. Nobody's going to forget.
Nobody's going to forget.
You're not going to years down the line,
right?
The press will not forget. They will forget. They will not forget what those people have done,
right,
to enable this terrible situation to continue.
If you had a chance to run into one of these Republicans, like these House Republicans, what would you say? What would you do if you encountered one of these on the committee that just rolled over?
What I would say is I'd say shame on you, shame on you. What do you tell your grandkids? What do you tell them What do you want them to read about you later on in life? What do you want? I don't know that they're so scared. I don't understand it.
You know, I'm not a violent person. I assume that you're not.
No.
Either.
I know I've done a lot of characters like that, but
okay.
that's
called
fiction.
Acting.
Yeah.
But right, I know. Yes, if people are thinking that I'm talking to one of those characters, Mr. De Niro is not going to whack any of the Republicans or do anything to them or Jake LaMotta them to the ground.
No, even when I said I want to punch
unless you wanted to, please.
Trump in the face after I made a thing but a few months before he was elected, and I was meaning it as a figure of speech, not literally punch him in the face, but just to say, to see what it's like to hear what you said by somebody else, like me, say, I want to punch you in the face to see what that's like. That's what it's, how dare you say that to people? Somebody who's being harassed in the audience or something. Yeah. How dare you? That's wrong.
Right. But it would kind of feel good to punch, not hurt him, but just punch him in the face. Just a little.
Yeah.
Just cathartic.
I'd like to see a bag of shit right in his face, hit him right in the face like that, and let the picture go all over the world. And that would be the most humiliating thing, because he needs to be humiliated. He needs to be confronted and humiliated by whoever his opponent is, his political opponent. They have to stand up to him. They don't have to do it in an obvious physical way, but they have to have the formidability to confront him and to put him in his place, because the people have to see that to see him be humiliated.
If there actually was a bag of shit in his face, he would be humiliated. And now I'm afraid, as you said that, I thought, there's a guy always standing next to him with a briefcase with a nuclear code. I'm hoping, you know what, I have no proof of this. I'm believing that the generals at the Pentagon, they have never since day one allowed those codes in that briefcase. No. There's numbers there, but it's more like
it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, you press that all you want.
0, 0, 0, or maybe pizzas, for pizza delivery. But there's no way that they are allowing those numbers in that damn briefcase. I'm just going to believe in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the what you're saying though, the sack of shit. Maybe would he have empathy to suddenly feel like what it feels like when people are how he's humiliated people, how he's put children in cages, how he's done these things to tear families apart.
I don't know, but look who he was. He was with Roy Cohn,
right?
Who's
master bully.
Yeah, master bully, very smart.
Devious, smart,
mean-spirited, hateful, self-hating, probably. He was gay, hated himself.
Yeah.
For that, probably in some way. Was that whatever thing he was acting out toward people in the world, who knows? But this is who Trump would look up to,
Right. Well,
and then there are those moments like when the lawyer Walsh said to McCarthy, "Have you no decency? Have you no decency?" That's the turning point.
Except here's what we know, that if somebody confronted him in a really profound way like that, "Have you no decency?" his answer would be, "No, I don't. Fuck you."
Well, somebody has to deal with him on that level. And they say, "No, fuck you. Sorry."
Yeah, that's the answer, right? Yeah, no, actually, Donald, fuck you.
Yeah. He needs that kind of put down, humiliation, because, and I really think part of him is crazy, or maybe I never knew the term malignant narcissist until one of my cousins told me there's such a word, and I looked it up, and all it has is about him.
Yeah, you could put his picture right there in that book next to that term. I want to talk movies with you as one director to another. Speaking of, we were watching Bronx Tale last night. We just wanted to do that before we were going to talk to you here today. And that is such a great film. It's powerful. It's funny. It's profound. The first thing I wanted to ask you, though, after I watched it, was you in the film, you play Lorenzo, this bus driver, working class guy. You're trying to raise I think he was 9-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy, something like that, with these values, the foundational values of the working class. And then there's Chaz, who plays the local
wise guy, if you will.
Wise
Sonny.
guy, yes. Did you ever think, I should be playing, I'm De Niro, I should be playing the wise guy, and Chaz should be the bus driver, the working class guy?
What it was that Chaz, at that time, Chaz wanted to, he was doing this one-man show, and everybody was talking about it and so on. And so I finally went to see it, and then I wanted to direct something. I thought, well,
you had not directed anything before.
At that point, I said, "What am I going to find?" I thought I could write something, but that wasn't happening. So I said, maybe I'll do this if I can get it, and Chaz on board and so on. And so we started talking. I saw him in the show and so on, and everybody was after him. And I said to him, look. What they're going to do is they're going to pay you a lot of money. They're going to buy the script for you. They're going to tell you they'll put you in it. Or maybe they'll fudge it and say, well, we'll try to do that. But they won't commit to it because they know they can't. I said, they're going to come to me and they're going to ask me to play the part that you want to play. So if you just give me the thing to direct, I'll play Lorenzo and I guarantee you'll play Sonny.
Wow.
That was it.
But why did you want to play the working class?
I thought it was that because you'd expect me to play Sonny, but I also felt that, and it would be better to play that part, Lorenzo, and I liked what he was saying, and it was very important for Chaz to play Sonny. And I said, okay, and it wasn't easy then. We had to get it set up with the studio and so on.
Right.
But I said, at least I can promise you that, no. I knew that we could get it done, and if I'm in it, it helps the movie. He could play that part. I'll play this part, and
How much of it was that? How much that maybe you identified with the working class dad, and those values that he's trying to impart to his son?
I identify with them. They are the truth, as far as I'm concerned. That's that truth, but that's a real. That's a truth, a real truth. That's the truth. The Sonny character, with all due respect, I'd like to think that he has more integrity than someone like Trump. And that's why we say that Trump's not even a good gangster. He's just a punk.
Right.
And he acts like this with that swagger, and he's just a blowhard, a buffoon.
But, okay, so here's what I don't get though. This is what you just said is true. He's a punk posing as a gangster.
Yes.
Okay, in all the movies, when the punk who thinks he's a hotshot gangster, just like in a horror movie, the first couple that has sex, they're going to die first.
Right.
Okay, in the movies, the punk who tries to pretend to be a gangster, he's gone by the second act of the film. How has Trump survived this? I hate to go back to this again, but are we just so befuddled by this that we can't? We the third and fourth acts have not materialized yet. Okay, that's the way to look at it.
And I think at the end of the day, and maybe it's because I feel that you have to think this way, is that he will get his comeuppance. He will be finally ignored by people. He'll be in a place that he'll never keep his mouth shut unless they ignore him. Like with certain people, I think, like with Madoff. They make it hard from what my understanding, hard to have access to him or talk to him or get in it. This guy, they just give him and he'll say it, he gets a lot of play and people do watch him. We all watch him, fascinated that this horrible thing is happening before you turn on the TV and it's Trump. If you see talking heads, that Trump, it's going to come up. It's about him somehow. I think in other countries, they're smarter than that, like France, where it's a small thing, but they don't allow political people to do political pitches for the week before the election or a few days before the election and stuff like that, or ads.
They control how much money is in their political system.
It's another thing with the money that corporations can give to these. the Supreme Court allowed that. That's
right.
That's
yeah. And this is the president we got after that decision. So, right. So his comeuppance at some point.
I think he will in history. I hope that eventually he will be even ignored, and he'll. That's what I'm thinking. I want to see him in jail.
Yeah.
And there, and then sort of isolated. I think he'd need to be isolated because.
Would you visit him in jail?
Never.
No.
I want nothing ever to do with him. Ever, ever.
Because, we were both raised Catholic, so it's one of the things that we were encouraged to do, just visit people in jail. No.
He's irredeemable as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing about him.
It's because there seems to be an absolute lack of conscience and an inability to show empathy.
None.
Which
Never
is
seen it.
Really weird. Like even a gangster has some empathy for his family, close friends,
Never see it. Nothing with this guy.
It's really weird to see a human being devoid, because it's one of the things that makes us different from other animals is that we have empathy, we have a conscience, we have these things, and none seem to be in use here.
No, that's what's so frustrating and infuriating is that there's nothing there. There's nothing to hold on to. Nothing to take from him. Nothing, any kind of something,
So in the second, or this would be his third act. His first act was here in New York. I'm going to let you go with that. I'm not going to harp anymore on New York's failure to do anything. This is the second act that we're all sort of suffering through. In the third act, if we believe that the story can have a happy ending, is that he'll get his comeuppance. The American people will show up next year and correct the mistake, and then he'll be shunned in the way that like Madoff will be forever a pariah, forever shunned. OJ shunned. I mean, there are people who
you had your chance in life. You've blown an opportunity that no one gets in their life.
What a gift to be president of the United States.
And to try and do something good.
Yeah.
And this is all you had?
Yeah.
You're on the take?
Yeah.
No, and there might be a fourth act too with him. I mean, well, but I think it's just an even better one where he will just be further down.
Further down.
Yeah.
No redemption.
No redemption.
No
redemption, like you think
so he'll get his comeuppance, and
for
Act 4 is he is in the worst hell imaginable. It's the only, we have to have a correction, Bob. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, we have to have, people need to see this is what happens to you.
Yes.
When you act like this.
Yes. There are consequences.
Because science has created a mechanism to help a malignant narcissist.
Yes.
You do have a chance to go get some help.
Well, he ain't going to get no help except from. It's whatever. It's, but I don't like his people get think that I'm so angry about him and mad, and that makes people angry. I don't want to make people angry. I want them to understand that I hope many people feel it. And I know many people do feel the way, but the people who don't, who feel angry because of the way I speak, please understand. You've got to understand that we're in a bad situation. Even for you justifying that you feel you're behind Trump, that's not a good situation. I'll argue that with anybody.
Yeah.
That's not a smart decision. I'm sorry. It's just not. The economy is doing well.
Right.
Certain things.
I don't know you personally, but your fuck Trump trilogy, I guess that's what we'll call it. First at the Tonys, then with Brian Stelter on CNN, and he says to you, and Mr. De Niro on a Sunday morning. I think probably Colbert. I think you did a reprise of it on.
I was going to, that was good.
Yeah, whatever that was. Yeah,
but I really wanted to say fuck Fox because I said fuck him. He said, "Well, what about Fox?" And I mean, no, it's fuck Fox. They are another bunch of. And this guy takes his marching orders from them in some ways.
Yes.
This is disgraceful. This is Rupert Murdoch. This is what he came to this country to give us.
Right. So, but I think people should know this about that. You're not actually that angry person. You know, fuck you and fuck you and fuck you and fuck you. I mean, it's this. And I would assume again. I'm you and I do not hang out, but I'm assuming you're not the characters in the movie. I go with that. That I'm not talking to Travis Bickle right now.
No, of course not.
Yes. So yet. Something has to happen here. Can I go back to Bronx Tale?
Yeah.
Actually,
please.
I just had a thought about. There's a scene in the movie where it's in the bar, and a group of like Hell's Angels or bikers have come in to the bar in the Bronx, and they really look like they're up to no good.
Yeah.
And then they start to be up to no good, and the bartender can't get them to behave. And then Chaz, the character,
the Sonny character,
the gangster guy comes in. He's there to protect the neighborhood too. That's his part of his job. And he comes in, and he says to them very nicely, "I think it's time now for yous to leave." And well, they not only don't leave, they go a little more into their Hell's Angel routine. And he very calmly goes over, locks the front door of the bar, and then he says, "Now yous can't leave."
Right.
Now yous can't leave. And it's like, oh, wow. And I thought about that after I rewatched the movie again last night. That's what I'd like to say to the Republicans on that impeachment committee. Right. You've had a chance. We've given you a chance to do the right thing.
Yes.
Somebody lock the doors of the committee room. And somebody needs to say to them, "No, yous can't leave."
Yeah.
And I'm not, of course, I'm not talking about now we have a bar fight, but they need to be told that they have so crossed the line that don't think we haven't been paying attention and don't think that we're going to let you get away with it.
Yes.
And how you're going to pay for it, we don't know quite yet. It won't just be, we're going to throw you out of office next year.
Right.
You need to think that of what you've done to violate our Constitution, our American values. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're a Republican or, you believe that a fertilized egg is a human being at conception. Fine, that's what you believe. That's not what our problem here is today. No. Our problem is that you have crossed the line.
Yes, big time.
Big time. And now Bob and I are coming for you. Well, not
the public.
Yeah. The 300 million of our fellow Americans who are sick and tired of watching this. I don't know if you've traveled the country at all. But
no.
I'm telling you, there is this malaise.
Well, I hope it has to be shown at the ballot box. It has to be shown like that because people have to get out and vote and get this guy out.
It's not enough just to complain about it.
No,
no. And if the can't, like, okay, let's say, like, I like Bernie. I've supported Bernie since forever.
Sure, yeah.
If I like Bernie and you like Biden, or I don't know, I'm not.
I like them all. They all have good qualities, but Biden is like the good uncle. He's older. He says a few things, gaff here and there, but he's well intentioned, and you see, people, you're with him for that reason. Somebody like Trump does not, and they're with him because I think we first became aware of it when you were saying it, that he shook things up. The people really, that's crazy, but that's how unhappy people were with the whole system.
They saw him as a human Molotov cocktail, and let's go in and vote for him, and he's a bomb thrower. and they didn't stop to think, you might be some of the collateral damage of his bomb throwing.
Yeah.
I think that as we've seen you speak in these last few years, you came over to a rally that Mark Ruffalo, myself, and Fisher Stevens put together on Central Park West the night before Trump's inauguration. 30,000 people packed Central Park West, and you came on that stage. And I don't know if I'd ever heard you give a speech, I guess you would call it a political speech, but it was so profound, and the things that you said were really moved people, and it moved me. And it made me, grateful for your existence. But you didn't stop there. You've been a voice. Anytime that you've had the opportunity to speak to your fellow Americans, you've let them know, and you've given, I think, people courage, because you've just had the courage to just say what it is. Fuck it.
Fuck it is right.
Fuck it. And this is too important, and God damn it, this is my country, and I'm not going to let this happen. Not on my watch.
No, it is too important. I'm not a political person. I'm just so angry about what's going on and afraid that we're going to... You have to speak up now. There's no more kind of genteel kind of way of saying, he just is kidding around. He just says that. No. He's not your uncle who says stuff and he's in the living room speaking, and who cares? This guy is in the world speaking, and people listen, and people who are not so have great potential for being misdirected will listen to this guy and do the wrong thing. They might think it's the right thing, but no, he's a real danger.
I met your daughter for the first time just before I came in here, and she told me that you have never done a podcast. You've not done. This is your first podcast.
Yeah.
And this is, I got to tell you, I've done podcasts, but this is my first podcast. Yeah. It's mine. This is you're my first guest on my first podcast, doing your first podcast. So how's it going? How's it been now? Your first podcast?
It's okay. I don't know. I mean, I've not listened to any podcast.
If you remember when you were younger, the part of radio that wasn't music, where there was people spoke to each other, like you and I haven't had to talk in sound bites here today. We haven't had to, there's not cameras on us. We can sit in these chairs and we can do whatever we want. So there's a relaxed feeling to it, and we can be authentic. We're not, we have to break now, Bob, for a commercial and sell some soap. No. And the young people, I think the young people like this.
Great.
It's real. They're tired of the bullshit, and they're tired of the phoniness. And I think that's why podcasts work. And
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, you listened to the big radio with a little dial right here and a little screen, and listen to the Lone Ranger and stuff like that. I don't know if that was in your time, but when I was a kid,
it was just ending.
Yeah.
But my grandparents were really old. I mean, here's how old. My grandfather was born 3 years after the Civil War.
Wow.
That's just my grandfather.
Wow.
So they were like the last people in town to get a TV. They loved that big radio.
Yeah.
And they loved, and I remember, this is what I remember about them, that and their walls were covered with books. There were no pictures involved.
Yeah.
You and we make our living with pictures.
Yeah.
To a large extent. The books have no pictures. You have to create in your imagination. Yeah. And the radio.
No, you're right. You're right.
You didn't see the Lone Ranger on his horse. You didn't see any of that.
No,
you had to create that in your.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing for kids, actually.
I do too.
To have to create the picture, to not depend on somebody creating it for you. I think that's one of the things I love listening to podcasts, because I'm just going through this and I'm inventing.
Yeah.
And which makes me then I'm a collaborator to this work of art, that whoever's doing this on the podcast, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe why it works, but you should do another one or two.
We'll see, maybe.
There's other things you have to do.
Yeah.
What are you doing, by the way? What's the...
Now I'm going to do, as far as work, I'm just doing a movie in the spring with Marty Scorsese, The Flower Moon.
What's it about?
It's about the Osage Indians in Oklahoma and the land grabs and everything. And I play the bad guy in the piece, and Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. Marty's directing it. It's about that period, with the oil, and there were a series of deaths that were really. It was like a mystery of who people would. Many of the Native Americans who had the Osage, who had land titles, were mysteriously dying.
Yeah, what's the book called? Flower Moon?
Yeah.
Wow, I already want to see this. So you're not giving up anytime soon?
No.
You've got more movies in you.
Yeah, I have things to do. I'm busy.
Yeah. And
it's what to do to get this president out of office.
Well, leave us with some sense of not false hope, but something that we can aspire to.
Well, the reality is that I feel there is a happy ending to this, and people have to get out and vote. And
so the public has to create.
The public has to create. They have to get out there and not think that they're not part of this whole process. They have to, and younger people have to register. And I mean, the gerrymandering part is going on, and voter suppression, fighting that. I don't know what that's. I'm saying everything that's general. I know. I mean, it's
no, but there are groups that are fighting that for next year.
Yes, yeah.
We just passed a ballot amendment in Michigan making it a crime to voter suppress.
Really?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, to stop the gerrymandering.
Yeah, great.
People should get that ballot proposal on whatever state you're in.
Yeah.
You can do this.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, that's what it's,
I don't know of a more criminal act, seriously, in a democracy than to do anything to try and make it hard or deny people the right to vote. I mean, what did everybody die for? What did my uncle died in World War II, and I just think, wow, my dad was in the Marines in the South Pacific, and he just passed away a couple of years ago. He couldn't believe what had happened. He couldn't.
Wow.
He was just like, this is what we fought for.
Yeah.
He was just beside himself.
Yeah, I could see.
And I hated to see him leave us. He lived in 93, but he should have gone out seeing that what he and his brother, what he fought and died for, and that we weren't going to let this democracy get away from us. That it was going to, and we were going to take care of the people. Because my dad, they were all union guys.
Yeah.
That's why I love that, that character there in Bronx Tale. But even the thing I got from the Irishman, part of Hoffa, that no matter what his flaws were, he actually cared about those guys who drove those trucks.
Yeah.
He won the union.
Yeah.
He died. What's the last thing? He died because they wouldn't give him his union back.
Yeah.
And that was more important than any big house on a lake. That fighting for the working class. And so I don't know. I mean, I like to feel I'm hopeful, and there are some days I just think we are so screwed. And I try not to go there.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. You gotta be positive.
Yeah.
Go and I don't.
You can say it.
No. I just don't want to just be saying things that are about him. That are, fuck him. We all know that. It's just how we move past all that, and he's going to be forgotten eventually. This whole period will be forgotten, and we'll move on, and it'll happen again.
Right.
And I'm worried.
We can't let it happen again.
No, we can, and there'll be laws and so on, but it will happen again in another place with a person who's more wily. He's not even wily. Who's smart, mercurial, and just as dangerous, but it could be 3 generations from now, 4 generations, but it'll repeat itself. It just will. That's what I think. This guy is like a first grader in this stuff. But that's scary because people even listen to him. But it will happen again.
Yeah.
And then we've got to be ready, maybe not in our lifetime, but there'll be something coming along like this. And Republican, these senators who are, and the congressmen who are just, I don't know. It's
the awful people
awful.
who need to be told.
Yeah.
Now yous can't leave.
Yep.
Because now we're gonna make sure this doesn't
happen
what I would
again.
like to see is not only remove Trump, but let's create a better world in this country.
Yes.
To where the working person has a good life. To where if you're a woman, you have equal status. Not just 25% of our Congress is women, 50% of it is. That everybody has a chance here. And that's what I've wanted to see my whole life. That everybody has a seat at the table.
Yes.
Everybody gets a slice of the pie.
Yep.
You know, and somebody asked me a few months ago, why are you doing all this? Why do you keep doing this? And I said, because I want to save the America we've never had. I believe that it's still a work in progress. A lot of it has not been good, and we can fix it. And I am committed to the America that we still don't have, and that you and I can make happen. And on that, in nomine Patris et Filio Spiritus Sancti.
Well said.
Thank you so much for doing this here in your office in downtown New York City. I and many others appreciate not just your work, but your heart and your grit and determination to unfuck this thing. So,
it's.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, listen. Good luck with the
podcast.
The podcast.
Yes, we'll need it. It's called Rumble.
Oh, okay.
Rumble with Michael Moore.
Oh, great.
You like that?
Yeah. Great. How long is it? An hour? Or
yeah, it's that's the great thing with podcasts. Because we're not answerable to any. It can be 15 minutes.
Right. Oh, okay.
It can be 40 minutes. It's like the BBC, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever how long the program is, that's how long it is.
Yeah.
So
okay.
but mostly it'll
nice.
probably be around an hour. And this is the first one, and we'll see what happens with it. But I'm hoping to make my contribution in this.
Yeah, I hope it all works. I hope what I said was okay.
Thank you for being on my first podcast here at Rumble.
Not at all. I think you're great. You do great stuff.